Okay. So we are live. Welcome to This is Your Spotlight. And I am here today with Marcy from the Comadreando podcast, which is on all podcasting platforms: Google, Spotify, Anchor, you name it, they're there. And also Mozo from WatchYo Mouth. And he's also a mental health advocate.
Facts.
I know your secret's out. If you were trying to hide it, I'm so sorry.
It's out there now.
Today we're going to talk about their podcasts. We're going to talk about parenting, how they do it, how they as the work-life balance, and also we're going to talk about mental health as it is in 2022. So we're going to start with basically the podcasting. What made you guys get into podcasting in the first place? Whoever wants to go first, up to you.
Go ahead, Marcy.
So I went on a podcast on El Salon Chronicles, and I was interviewed by the ladies there, and they got a lot of feedback asking for more me because I guess my perspective as a mom of a child with special needs and also as a special education teacher wasn't out there. So that is what kind of pushed me to, podcasting and talking, because the thing is, like, I wanted to continue to help more people, but I didn't know how, and I feel like this is an avenue for that.
Mozo.
That's super dope, Marcy. By the way, I love that.
Thank you.
And first of all, I want to say thank you for having me on here, and sharing space with me. I always appreciate that. And Watch 'em Out from Mozo started as something that I did during the pandemic. I've always been into podcasts. I always wanted to start a podcast, but once the pandemic hit, I had a lot of free time at home. So it gave me the courage to just do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, what do I have to lose, right? Where am I entering? So hey, why not start a podcast and talk about it? And then when I started the podcast, I was like, what am I going to talk about? And I feel like at that time, with everything going on in the world and just everything happening, like, I felt like I needed to just use my voice to just, like, first to make myself a better person and to help inspire others to be better as well. And speak about topics like mental health, from a men's perspective, of course.
Yeah.
Mental health, toxic masculinity, fatherhood, and I just feel like especially being Dominican, being from Brooklyn, New York, I feel like it was big for me to just do that. Like, I don't feel like we talk about it enough, and I feel like I'm that person. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I can be that light that can help other people find that light within themselves, and that's really the reason why I did this podcast.
Yay.
So, why did I start doing the show? That's pretty funny. I decided to do it. I was in the Bronx at the time, and I was like, you know what? I have a degree. I'm not using it. And then I started a documentary. After the documentary, I decided to start doing the show. Did the first year. Again, I think the free time helped with the pandemic. It's like going through, like, what am I doing with myself? What should I do? I don't know. So yeah, that kind of was the catalyst. And I believe for the creative community at large and also for the advocate community at large, it was really helpful because everybody, like, you guys definitely stepped up and be like, listen, my perspective is valuable. There might be hundreds or thousands of people like me. Why not start something to give a voice and a platform to the people who might not otherwise have one? And for men's mental health, that's super important because there's so much testosterone. There's so much stuff going on. And then also, Marcia, for what you do, it's very interesting because a lot of parents are reserved when it comes to putting themselves out there.
Yeah.
It's like to put a camera, to make sure you record my voice. It's like, I don't like the way I sound. Or am I saying this impassioned enough? Will my audience understand it?
Yeah. The
And
biggest thing is that I feel like I want to give a voice to the voiceless, and a lot of the time when you get a diagnosis for a child with special needs, it's very isolating.
oof,
You
super.
know, you feel alone. There's nobody's like, hey, here, join this community. You know, you kind of have to look for resources yourself and figure it out, and it's hard. And a lot of the time, especially in your family, if you don't have anybody that has special needs, you don't really know who you can turn to, who you can talk to, that you can confide in, that won't judge you or won't feel that your experience is completely different than theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. That's so like that resonated with me just now, like that. With your messages now, because that's why it's up to us to create these spaces, right? To so that if we so that from your story, like from our own stories, right? We're like maybe we don't have we didn't have that space, right? Maybe we didn't
Hmm.
find that person or the people that could maybe support us in what we were going through. But now that I know better, now I can do that, and right, and
Yeah.
I can lead that space, and then others can lead that space, and because that's what that's what I'm thinking about in my head. You know what I'm saying? Like I have a lot of conversations with a lot of men, about like mental health and things like that. A lot of behind the scenes stuff, which is cool, but like I'm also hoping that I tell them all the time, like, listen, feel free to talk to your brother about this or your best friend about this or your
Yeah.
cousin or somebody else, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times the reason why, we don't talk about certain things is because we just don't bring it up.
Yeah.
Like a lot
Yeah.
of us have a lot in common. Our stories are very similar. And at the end of the day, we're humans and we all go through ups and downs. So, and the only way we really know and can really help each other by sharing our stories. And it doesn't have to be public. I'm not saying you go start a podcast and share your whole, everything. It could be something private. It could be like I said, with your closest people, with anybody in your sala, chilling on the couch, having a conversation, or over the phone, whatever
Mhm.
works for you. But you know, um, I think that is dope that people are finding the power in their voice and in their story and sharing it with other people. Like to me, that's one of the most beautiful things.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, that's the power of podcasting in terms of that, the auditory component. Now, in television, there are certain restrictions that you have to abide by. You know what I mean? And also, there's certain things you can talk about without cause. You have to find it's a slippery slope. Like you go into the topic too deep, you gotta be careful because you don't know who you're gonna offend. And oh yeah, I'm like okay. And also, what I like about television is that you are able to see expressions, and you always with podcasting. I notice it's harder. Like if one person is like giving their like I'm a very animated person, as if we can't tell, just a little bit. But I had to turn down my animation. Like when I was interviewed by Marcia, I had to turn down the animation. I'm like, oh yeah, they can't see me doing finger spelling. Like, what am I doing? I don't know. like tranquila, like calm down. It's like So but I think it's invaluable what you guys are doing, and it's absolutely fantastic because they're not niche areas, they're real life.
All
It's
right.
just to be brave enough, to be strong enough to be like, okay, you know what, you don't want to talk, I do. If I have to be your mic for the moment, I will, to a certain extent, but you got to help me out. I'm not going to stand here all by myself. I will, just to do the intro, but don't leave me hanging. Like, what's wrong with y'all? Like, oh my god, where's Sola? What's like, come on. No, no, no. It's like, oh, mofo, you said that you got these issues. Come on, I'm not here by myself. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm happy that you said that because I feel like a lot of times, like people throw out these things, but they're not really doing the work like behind it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's easy to put something. It's easy to call yourself a mental health advocate, take a call and put it on there, and boom, and that's it, right? You're a mental health
Hmm.
advocate. That's to me, that's easy. That's light work. But the real work is like really talking to people, connecting with them, right? And getting to know people, getting to know yourself, and the process of all that. That's really doing the work. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like now in this day and age, everything is all about, like you see it with everything. Everything is just it's a marketing thing, right? Like Juneteenth, LGBTQ, everything. Every
Hmm.
month, everything is just like trying to sell, trying to get everything out there. Like, but at the end of the day, like it's about doing the work. It's about putting in the work, and And like I said, if you want to, shout out to anybody out there that's working on their mental health, anybody that considers himself a mental health advocate. But being a mental health advocate, being supportive of mental health is a lot more than just putting a quote on Instagram or whatever it is. And then, you know, like it's deeper than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so if you're gonna call yourself that, or you're gonna, you know, live by that, then make sure you're doing the work on yourself, because that's the only way you can really help others do the work on themselves as well.
Yeah, you got to walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk.
Exactly. And I think a lot of us are guilty of that. Like, to be honest with you, I would never call myself a mental health advocate, because I'm not. I have my own underlying issues, and I have my son with his own underlying issues. And you know what? I take it day by day. I put one pant leg on at a time, or the skirt or the bra or whatever. I personally, like, I think it's not offensive, but I think it kind of downgrades people who are serious about mental health, who really generally do want to help out the community. You know what I mean? So I think it's invaluable what you guys both do, from both of the ways you guys approach your podcast. I know there must be like a lot of care and consideration when you're picking a topic.
Yeah, I basically like, well, my creative process for the topics for the podcast, I kind of, at the beginning of the season, I think about things that people want to talk about, like they would need to learn about rather. And I kind of give like an overall like schedule of what topics I'm gonna um publish when, you know, and I think about like guests at that time as well. Um but then I also like always bring it back to the community, right? So I like, you know, put questions
Mhm.
out there. Hey, what would you like to learn about? Or if I get feedback from a comadre or a compadre saying like,
Mhm.
hey, I would like to know more about this. I didn't know about this. Can you make another episode deep diving into that? And then,
Mhm.
you know, it's flexible. It's not something that's like set in stone. Like I'm not gonna change, you know, whatever I'm talking about just because that's what I decided, you know.
No, this is true. What about you, Mozo? Is there anything special that you do for the audience?
Yeah, for me, like the creative process is very similar to Marcy, in the way where like I don't really, I like to always, first off, I always when I think about a topic, it usually comes from an experience I had, or I've had, or something like that, right? And I try to just bring it out there. Maybe the guests can relate to it or not
Mhm.
relate to it, but you know, it's something that I bring out there. Maybe they do relate to it. Like I said, our stories are all very similar. We just don't speak about them sometimes, so we don't know. But that's really how I go about it. And I also like to keep it to be as organic as possible. I feel like people like to see a conversation where it doesn't look like it's scripted, where it doesn't look like it's like, you know, like that kind of stuff. Like, and you know, you have a layout of questions you're gonna ask and stuff. But I think part of being a podcaster and being creative is also being able to, like, while you're recording this, while you're doing this, is being able to, like, if you got to switch it up, or you got to, you know, come up, you know, on the spot, you know, come up with another question because of what they just said, or, you know, something they may have mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It's our job to do that, right? And not just be so like the question one, question two, question three, like you're at school
Yeah.
taking a test. You know what I'm saying?
Espérese.
but
I'm
it
telling you,
but
I
it's
can't have
you
my
know,
cue cards and be ready. Oh, sorry. Shout out to who this is. I can't have my cue cards ready.
of course. I mean,
Not
that's
cue cards.
important.
I'm sorry. Not a
No,
cue
no,
card.
all that is important. I keep that as well. Like when I have a guest, I have a layout. You know, because of course you don't want to lose track of what you want to talk about either, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you have a million and one things going on in your head, family, life. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So like,
Mhm.
but I think that's what I do. I feel like that really works for me when it comes to, you know, to my podcast and the audience, and just really just speaking to people. I think that's really what attracts people uh to wanting to speak to me and wanting to, you know, get to know me more.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Another question that I have. No, I did not. I did not write them down. Por si
It's
acaso.
all good. It's okay if you did.
No, no, it's okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of the questions that I do ask on the show, I usually like to brief people before, at least, so they don't feel like, oh my gosh, she's gonna ask me the last Tuesday what the hell did I buy at Rainbow? If you went to Rainbow, great. Or that sale on Target, no tampoco. Shout out to those companies. By the way, I'm not promoting you. Um, not that would be unopposed to do so, but Just saying. Um, so my thing is that what I've noticed, and this time, I think everybody's fragile at some point. Whether it's the different abilities community, whether it's the male community, the female community, there's a lot of breakdowns at the moment that it's like hard to address. To be honest with you, it's very hard to address. And I feel in the Latino community, we're scared of a lot of things. We have a lot of cucos in that closet, plus cemeteries and graveyards, but nobody wants to say anything
Mhm.
because of perception. Oh no, yo, qué sé yo, que tía Flavia tiene diabetes. Oh my God, can we not talk about that? It's like, okay, so what can we talk about? Oh
Mm.
no, a Lucrecia le pegaron los cachos con otro. Okay, great. I'm sorry for Lucrecia. I'm sorry about Lucrecia's situation. She's getting cheated on, but how is this like the most popular thing? And like they prefer the fluffy stuff instead of the things that really require work. And
Yeah.
it's hard. I'm sorry. My parents are both from DR, and I was born here. And there's sometimes I love them, but there's a generational disconnect. There's some things that I'm just looking at them like
I don't care.
it's like I love y'all. I do.
Yeah.
Like it's like I just don't. I don't care
It's
that
like
much. You know, like
okay. It's like
It,
okay.
I feel like with our generation, and I'm talking about all of us because like we're sort of contemporaries, I want to say, but
Hmm.
I feel like this generation now we're doing the work to talk about those uncomfortable topics, about those discussions, the things that are hush hush that people don't want to
Yeah.
discuss. And I feel like Mozo and I, through our podcast, and you through your show, we're exposing things that need to be talked about. There's no way that we're gonna heal our community without discussing things that make us uncomfortable. The first My first episode was about talking about religion,
Ooh,
introducing religion to your kid with special needs. And then we also talked about the things that are negative in the Catholic religion. We talked about molestation and all these other things, and those are things that make people uncomfortable, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about Father Johnny doing whatever to the kids. But it's something that needs to be discussed, and there's no way that we're gonna fix the
yeah.
situation if we don't address it.
right?
No, exactly.
Like the only way to repair a problem, right, or to come to a solution is to speak about it. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, like in our communities, for many years, I mean, for generations and generations, that's how it's been, right? Like I was a great example, right? Like people are more open to talk about gossip and stuff like that, and talk about actual things, about substance, like real things,
Hmm.
and it's the same thing as a man. Like you go to a barber shop, everyone's talking about the NBA finals going on, everybody's talking about the girl they was with, everybody talking about this, but
Yes.
they ain't talking about how they really feel. You know what I'm saying?
Don't
Like,
worry. The salon is doing the same thing, but it sounds much worse.
you know what I'm saying? Like, where
Mhm.
you like, and I understand. Like, I'm open to having those kind of conversations. I love basketball. I love baseball. I love sports. I'm a huge sports fan, but I also feel like we also need to find a balance, and have talk about the other things as well, not just we're more than that. We're not just these. We're like, we have a lot. Like you said, we have a lot of testosterone, but we also have emotions and feelings, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
those emotions aren't just like wanting to fight and get angry and all the other stuff people society wants us to think. It's about being real with yourself, and yeah, and I think that it's really up to us, and I'm proud of us, everyone here and everyone out there listening that's doing the work. You know what I'm saying? I'm really proud of y'all. Keep doing your thing, and don't stop because you're making a difference.
No, sincerely, it's true. And I feel like now we need to step it up for the people because there's so much going on between. Listen, if we start getting into real world politics about, hey, the massive school shootings, and then here in the city, like there's a report that somebody got stabbed in Queens, and the other person jumped the track, messed up the traffic for God knows how the heck long.
Yo, it took me
Uh,
man long to get home last night because of
Yeah.
that.
Ridiculous. You know what I
um,
mean? Like then you got another person who it's just like so crazy. Like even like if you work at a public space like I do, the space was open for an event till like 9 o'clock. Do you know how the event ended? half of the space was not open, only maybe like two or three, sections or whatever. Do you know somebody, because they couldn't hold it in, actually went behind, not a, it was like there's like a gate, and actually released, if you know what I mean.
Oh my God.
That's
I was
crazy.
like, it is 8:45 at night, and we're closing. This event closes in 15 minutes. We're trying to clear out everything. And excuse me to say the following, and your behind could not hold it in,
Oh my God.
or you couldn't ask for an alternate, and you just decided to let it out. I'm like, thank you for giving other people work to do before they got the heck home.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much for that, people. Like, really? And that's like tame compared to like hearing about the school shootings, the rising gas prices, the stuff that happens on the train. That's tame. It
True.
makes for good comedy.
There's a lot of
At least
mental health issues going on right now in the world, and a lot of it's not being addressed properly, and then
it's true. It's not.
the
Yeah,
economics and the political situation is exacerbating it instead of alleviating the things
it's
for the people.
crazy. I don't know. Like you being at the barbershop, Mozo, how dudes dealing with it? Because some dudes be on some like,
I mean, I'm a very honest person. Like I'm not like I was getting my hair. I was getting at the barber shop on the other day, like a couple of days ago on Tuesday, and this dude was just ranting on about politics and ranting on about the gas prices and blaming it on Biden and blaming it on the Democrat and blaming it on this. And then he was like, and all these people coming in. And that's when I have to be like, yo, bro, you're doing too much. Like you talking crazy right now. He said, who's talking? I said, you're talking crazy right now. Like, what do you mean people are just coming in here? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, you're doing exactly what they want us to do, which is just be divisive and just sit here
And
and
blame each
argue
other.
and blame each other. Like that's not. I'm like, that's not a solution to anything. You're sitting here. What is the solution to it? You know what I'm saying? And like, I don't know the solution to it. Europe. I know I know what the solution is. Not is to be sitting here complaining about blaming one
Group of people.
old white dude about him raising the gas prices. Like this government is a whole big thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't get into it because there's so many layers to it, right? But I'm,
no vale la pena.
right,
It's
but
not worth it.
that's just an example. Like I'm just somebody like I'll be chilling at the barber shop and everybody knows me, and everybody knows that I'm very honest. Like so so I know my barber when he heard me say that, when he heard him say that, I know he was like, oh, I know he's about to say something. like I know he was cutting my hair and he was thinking to myself, he about to say something. He about to say something because after he left, the barber started talking to me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, because that like I know like you're a barber and you cut somebody's hair, you don't want to lose business or say something wrong to offend anybody, but I'm a customer as well, so if I hear another customer saying something crazy, I'm gonna step up and say something, and then again, I'm not gonna say it in a rude way because I don't want to get physical with anybody like that, but at the
No,
same
no,
time, like,
tampoco. No, 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 no.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Let's not get physical. I know. No, no,
I just
no.
don't like when people bash like
Mhm.
immigrants or bash things like that. You know what I'm saying? Especially me I'm a product of that. My mom
Yeah.
came here, a hardworking person who has worked very hard, raised me, my
Mhm.
sister, who have become two productive people in society. You know what I'm saying? So don't put everybody on a box because that's easy to do. We could put everybody in. If we just talk about negative things, we could put every single person from every single place can all go into a negative box because no one is perfect and everybody's done negative things from every country, from every place, from every religion, from every political party. They've done something negative or bad. So don't put everybody on that negative box. And that's what I was trying to say to him. But that's really how I deal with that. And that's really just how I handle life in general. I'm always open to speaking to people. I'm okay with like I'm that person that I go to events by myself because I'm okay with going somewhere by myself, and if I'm okay with approaching someone and speaking to them, I'm okay with someone approaching me and speaking to them. Like I'm okay with that. So
Hmm.
I'm not shy to speak up and say something when something needs to be said, and I feel like that's how. If you're able to do that and you're open to do that, that's what you should do. Because I know
Yeah.
not everybody's
Mhm.
like that. Not everybody. I
No,
understand that. Not
there
everybody's the
doesn't.
same,
It's true.
and I respect it. But that's sometimes when people are quick to stand up and fight for something that is not even worth it. Sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And for
It's
things
true.
that do matter, that's what we should stand up for and say something about. Like you're complaining about gas prices. Yeah, I know. I drive too, and I'm going through it right now with the gas prices. It's crazy. but like, what is the root? The root is not just Joe Biden and he raised the gas prices. That's not the root of it. But yeah, I don't want to get sorry. I don't want to get into politics.
No, but I will tell you. Speaking of, you're talking about the gas price. That reminds me of, Jimmy Kimmel, when he did a segment called "Mean Tweets," and they at that time they were kind of angry at Obama, or whatever. He goes, "Oh, a pack of Coors is $23.99. Thanks, Obama." I'm like, what the hell does he have to do with your beer? It's like, go somewhere
like to
cheaper to buy your beer. Why are you buying a gas station? Why are you buying gas station anything?
Because that's the easiest thing to do. Being negative and being that's the easiest, and complaining is the easiest thing to do.
Finding a scapegoat.
Right, that's the easiest thing to do. Like, because of this person, boom, because of Marcy. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the easiest thing to do. I blame Marcy. That's it, boom. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the kind of world. Unfortunately, that's the world that we live in, where people just want to point the finger, and to them, that's the solution. Like, when it's not a solution.
So true.
That's the problem. I love the fact that Mozo addresses in his podcast accountability, right? It's so easy to blame somebody else instead of taking accountability for your actions, for the way that you carry yourself in the world, and take responsibility for that, and like really sitting down and analyzing, like, yo, damn, I fucked up, you know what I'm saying? Or like, damn, I'm not feeling well, like, this is why I'm acting this way, like really analyzing who we are and sitting and being comfortable with that.
No, sincerely, really, it's very true. And like I said, what I strive to do, with this television show is just to put a spotlight on people who are doing things that are worth mentioning, that are worth spotlighting, that are worth showing. Because we have so many people in the community that are doing positive things, that are not just part of the wah wah crying crowd. And nobody talks about that. It's like uplift, it takes a village to uplift, something. And if we could concentrate on uplifting and empowering and really genuinely trying to be a community that embraces or even makes an effort to do what we have to do for one another, it would help out.
Like if all the politicians came together, united, the gas prices would go down. like they would find a way to lower the gas prices. Like, if they all got together and be like, you know what, let's get on the same page.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Let's make the world let's make this country a better place for the people that live in it. Because that's the whole purpose that's supposed to be the whole purpose of the government, right? But everyone has their own agendas, everyone has their own things, everyone has their own thing. So then that's the reason why we are the world. Because if we collectively did that, what you just said about us coming together as a community, if we did that total as humans and as people, the world would be an amazing place to live in. It would be a lot less negative things going on the planet. But unfortunately, our brains are like trained to just be like, oh, I like left or I like right. I like red or I like blue. Instead of being like, you like left? Sometimes it's not, that's cool, you like left. I like right though, you know what I'm saying? But it's cool, it's still love. It's okay. It's okay to like chocolate.
As long as you leave me somewhere. If you leave me somewhere that I'm gonna be like, you know what?
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay to be different. It's okay to like different things. It's okay to have different tastes. It's okay but it's like people feel like, oh, if you don't like this, it's like, and again, if you're not hurting anybody, it's not something that's offensive. That's that's a whole other thing. But like, people argue about the littlest things sometimes, and I'm just like, y'all, like, I don't get it.
No, I think also what's going on nowadays in terms of couple dynamics, I'm gonna be honest, social media will get you in trouble. I'm gonna be very honest, because sometimes some people are so into, I'm gonna say it in Spanish, I'll find the English equivalent in a minute. Todo el mundo está pantallando. Everybody wants to show, todo el mundo
presenting the facade.
Exactly. Uno quiere hacer la vitrina. Ay, qué linda está mi vitrina, los platos, and you just look at them like, okay. All I see is somebody with too much collagen, way too much makeup, and and tight ass clothes. both you and your man's. I'm like, how are you walking around on fucking fire? Like, and the colors, and it's just, it's a little crazy. It's a little crazy, but that's just me. I'm not bitter. I'm just taking my time. Um, so my question is, in terms of now, do you think has there been a detriment in you guys' modest opinion in terms of men and women dynamics? Because there's been a lot of flips and switch.
A detriment in what sense, Ellie?
Like instead of trying to balance it out, it kind of like puts it on its head. Instead of getting it to walk, it's kind of like on its, it flips it. It turns it upside down. Like and it kind of damages it instead of actually trying to make sure it's well enough to float.
Like social media and damaging relationships, you mean?
Yeah, there's that, and also like because that's what I talked about pantallando. Like everybody's into the facade. Like okay, Rosa and Enrique have been together for 5 years, and all of a sudden, Rosa is Enrique's number one fan on Facebook and social media. And she's one of his followers. But if somebody says, "Oh, Enrique, you look nice in that shirt," Rosa's gonna blow a stink. Y ay Dios mío, el final del mundo.
Okay. I mean, social media in general has changed the dynamics for dating as well as relationships.
Yeah.
You have access to people all over the world at all times, and yeah, people are very preoccupied with the facade and what they're presenting to everybody instead of actually working on their real relationship. Like, I know people that don't even really like each other, but on social media, they're like going on vacations and posting, all these other things. And, that's well and good. But, social media tends to allow people to present this fake, not fake, but yeah, fake, this
Yeah.
fake image of themselves that is not
Hmm.
the real thing.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I feel like social media is something that can be very helpful. Um,
Hmm.
Also, it can be something that can be, it can be used for the right reasons, but it's also something that people use
Hmm.
to try, like you said, to try to build this fantasy life or kind of escape from reality.
Hmm.
And then the problem that comes with that is that people then feel like their reality should look like their fantasy. Like my reality should look like that person's fantasy,
Yep.
and when that fantasy isn't even real, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, and I think that when it comes to relationships and social media and all that, I think that social media, like you said, has opened a lot of doors as far as like if you're looking for somebody, you could end up meeting somebody from like a whole nother country across the world, and that might be your soulmate. Like you never know, right?
Hmm.
But it's also like it's also made it a thing where it's like I feel like it's made it very like, oh well, like whatever type, like it's made it like, oh well, if Marcy doesn't, then I can just go to her. I can just go to this person,
Hmm.
that person. You know what I'm saying? And just do it, that kind of stuff. But my advice to anybody out there with social media and relationship is that, and relationships in general, like we are taught and trained once again to look for things in people, right? Like to look for things in people that, you know, and most of the things that we look for in other people, we haven't even found within ourselves yet, right?
This is true.
So before you
Mhm.
want to get with somebody and be in a relationship with somebody else and find, oh, they need to be there, they need to be that. Make sure that
You
you're
need to
doing
be
that
that yourself.
right. Make sure you're like that. Make sure you're doing that because if you're like that, then you will find somebody that will come across that way. And if somebody who isn't like that, automatically you will not. You just won't match with them. You know what I'm
Attract
saying?
that
Because
person.
right, you just won't because they either won't be at that space, so they'll be like, or you will be
Mhm.
like, nah, this ain't the one. He or she is not the one.
Hmm.
So just make sure that you're doing the work within yourself because when you do the work within yourself, then dating or finding a soulmate or finding whatever it is, it does it just that's how it works. And like
Mhm.
the most I always say the most important relationship is the one with yourself. Like that's the person
Yes.
that should be your number one. that should be like the person, because you gotta take care of yourself before
Mhm.
anybody else, whatever the case may be.
And honestly, I see both your points, but also I think the last thing I want to talk about for sure is definitely how we have outlets nowadays, and we don't realize it that we can. I hate to say we can curate an outlet to show off something that could be universal, and we just don't know it. Honestly, we just don't know it. Mhm. And whether it's television, whether it's a podcast, and here it is. So that's pretty much what I'm going to close with. So I'd like to say thank you to Marcia from the Comadreando podcast. Thank you so much for being
You're
on. Thank
welcome.
you to Mozo from Watch Your Mouth podcast. And both of their podcasts are on all streaming platforms. Check it out. Support our creators, our Latino creators. You'd be surprised what you have in common. Whether you're at work, whether you're in school, whether you're in bed and you can't fall asleep, maybe you might get some sound advice. Maybe you might feel like you've been seen or heard. You never know. So,
True.
thank you so much to both of you for being on. This is your spotlight. Any
Um,
closing words would you like to say?
of course. First off, it was amazing. Thank you again for having me on and getting to doing your work. Marcy, you as well. It was great getting to know you and meeting you through here. And I just have some words before we close out. You know what I'm saying? For anybody out there who doesn't follow me on Instagram at underscore the real Mozo. Check out Watch
Mhm,
Your Mouth and Mozo. It's on
mhm.
everywhere, wherever you want. Just look it up. You'll see it. Watch Your Mouth and Mozo. And I want you guys to remember. These are my last words. I talk a lot. These are my last words.
I'm sorry, I made it seem so final. Like,
No, no, because these are my
he's
last
not
words.
under duress. He willingly came
Because
onto the show to express his viewpoint. Okay, just letting
because
everybody know.
because after that, I'm taking the mic and I'm passing it to Marcy, and I don't want it back. All right. So my words for y'all out there, anybody listening, for y'all will be here too. We together right here. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be gentle, be kind, because it could really save someone's life. And it costs absolutely nothing to be gentle, be kind. That's all I gotta say.
Mic drop.
Wait, better. Oh no, better. I need this to talk.
Don't drop.
I can't stop it now. It's like, what happened? Oops, sorry.
Yeah, so piggybacking off of what Moso said, I want to thank you, Eddie, for inviting me to be on your show. Yeah, be kind, everybody. Like, this is the biggest thing. A lot of people have invisible disabilities. A person might not look like they have a disability. So please come from a place of love. Think about yourself and how you would feel, if somebody treated you badly. So that's
Mm,
one thing. Let's create more inclusive environments where people feel free to be themselves and they don't have to hide themselves.
Okay.
And you guys can find me everywhere, at Comadreando Pod on Instagram, on Twitter. I also have a YouTube channel, so you can find the podcast on all of the streaming platforms and YouTube as well. So with that, I wanted to say thank you to the comadres for tuning in and for Elodie inviting me. And also, you're awesome. Thank you. I was like a pleasure to meet you.
Yes,
likewise. Oh, I
partially.
already passed the mic. I'm sorry.
Ay, Dios mío. Okay, okay, all right. Thank you very much, everybody. So, this will be on the Roman Epics YouTube channel. And also check out for this show. It will drop. I will tell you when. Yes, I have a planner. I'm that old school.
Mm,
It's going to drop on July 5th on MNN, and it will be on the following Tuesday on BronxNet, channel 68, Bronx Arts, and MNN 2, the Lifestyles channel. So enjoy and thank you.
Bye.
peace.